So the Sharks won their previous game against the Bulls and had to travel to New Zealand to play against the Highlanders 5.5 days later that had the week off. So basically the Highlanders had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I predicted the Sharks to win in a very close margin, but I didn't expect the Highlanders to be this bad while having a week off. Here's a reason why I think they're going to struggle this season and the season forward. Because dUNEDIN. dUNEDIN is the most southern city in the competition. So it's the closest to the southern pole. So it's the closest place to play and train at. It is in a place called Otago. Otago is famous for 5 things: beautiful country, old buildings, ugly women, mullets, and people in the South Island of New Zealand think this is still cool. So Beauden Barrett in 2019 became a free agent. He had a choice to either stay at the Hurricanes in Wellington or choose a different club. His choices was either the Highlanders, the Hurricanes, the Blues, the Chiefs or the Crusaders. Now imagine Brian Abana at his prime as a free agent and he could choose where he wants to play. He had a choice between the Bulls, the Stormers, the Cheetahs, the Lions or the Sharks. Many would expect the Cheetahs to be his last choice, because your travelling would be an extra flight. In the summer the weather is too hot and in the winter the weather is too cold. In December holidays, families plan to go to Cape Town or to Durban to enjoy the beach and the holiday festivities. Literally no one plans to go to Bloemfontein. So my point is, dUNEDIN is the Bloemfontein of New Zealand. So if you're a rugby player, Otago would be your last place on your list to be a rugby professional player, unless you are born and bred in Otago. At the end of the Super Rugby season in 2019, the Highlanders lost a lot of key players, but the struggle was to replace those quality players that they lost with new players from the region. Otago had a horrible season in the Mitre 10 Cup, and Southland broke the record for the most consecutive losses, 20 in total. So we expect them to be below average this season. New coaches and new average players is a recipe for failure. Last week I said that it felt to me like the Sharks' backs and forward didn't gel well together. For their style of play they need to interlink well to play well against big opposition. Well, this week they found each other. With the forwards in the back mixing it up and finding each other, it felt to me like my wife's spaghetti meatballs. 2 different kind of food, but it just works perfectly together. It's pure magic. From behind the back passes to no-look passes to excellent kicking turnovers, one could feel everything fell in place for the Sharks. The Highlanders had a game plan that they thought would work. Strong forward dominance in set pieces and spreading the ball out wide as quick as possible. Try to get rid of that arrow defense or rush defense by doing a quick double pass or the flaw of kicking the ball directly to the wings. In the first half this might have worked, but you also needed to defend. Whenever the Sharks got a turnover ball, the Highlanders' defense was in shambles. In the first half alone, the Sharks scored 2 tries from turnover ball. If you trail 27 points to 3, you have to change your game plan. That's exactly what the Highlanders did in the second half. They changed their game plan to something that looks familiar to the South Africans. They kept the ball with the forwards. This is extremely unlike the Tony Brown coaching style, but it seemed to work for them because it worked against the Sharks. They kept the ball with the forwards, forcing penalty after penalty to come closer to the line. That's exactly how they got their first try. And a few minutes later, exactly how they got their second try. Keeping the ball with the forwards, and as soon as there was space, they kicked the ball to the winger. This tactic seemed to work for the Highlanders. It worked perfectly. But when you're 5 meters in front of the line, you can't afford to knock the ball on. That is what happened twice with the Highlanders. And that's what cost them the game. The Highlanders had 60% of the possession and 72% of the territory in the second half alone. They had 121 passes to 55 and they gained 384 meters from turnover ball. In the second half alone, the Highlanders dominated the game, but they just couldn't finish off. Just as it looked like the Highlanders are coming from behind, they did their old tricks again, handling errors in the middle of a set play. In the first half we saw some Noche magic. And in the second, a possible Springbok future Fuzzy outrun, outpace, outplayed the Highlanders backline by scoring another 2 tries from Highlanders errors. If you have an outcome in the first week, it can either go for you or it can go against you. It can go for you as you have more time to prepare, but it can go against you like it did with the Highlanders, as they sit with a new centre pairing, a new scrum off and a fly off pairing, new lock pairing, new flank pairing and new front row pairing. Players still need to find each other. And that's the reason why they lost. 4 out of the 5 Sharks tries come from turnover possession. If it wasn't for that blue jersey they were wearing, I would have swore it was the Sunwolf of 2 years ago. Although the Sharks got the turnover possession, they still had to score the try. And that's the one credit we have to give the Sharks. It feels like the backs and the forwards are starting slowly but surely finding each other. And as time progresses, it just feels like they might get better and better and better. It will definitely make any Sharks fan happy to see the boys spreading the ball out wide and the players finding each other. But I don't want to burst the bubble. If the opposition's defense is weak, your offense will always look fantastic. The Sharks' next test will probably be their biggest in their Australasian tour. They play against the Hurricanes, someone with a big forward pack and a very, very good backline. Next week is going to be a good test to see how good the Sharks actually is.